This is going to be a very interesting class right now because we are going to do something different as we are doing in the other previous classes. What we are going to do now is to use something called Laravel Mix, that is the new name introduced after Laravel 5.4 for Laravel Elixir. Laravel Mix is basically the way as Laravel provides us a very good tool to manage our dependencies and our front-end related stuff. Laravel Mix uses Webpack in order to work with some components and stuff of our front-end dependencies, but what we are going to do right now is several things. First, we are going to publish some components from Laravel Passport. Basically, those components are going to allow us to create very nice views in order to manage the clients, the personal access tokens, and any other things. And that components are being created by default using Vue.js. Vue.js is basically a framework for the front end that allows us a lot of things, and one of them is to divide some structures into components. Of course, there are a lot of things that we can do with Vue.js, but I'm not going to be very detailed on this. Of course, it is another topic, so the only thing that we have to do right now is to publish those components. So for that, we just need to go to our command prompt inside our virtual machine and issue this. We are going to use vendor publish to publish some components from a vendor dependency, in this case of Passport. And we are going to say that we want the Passport components. After this, if we go and check our resources assets folder, we can see inside the JavaScript folder the new components. We have the Passport components that are the authorized client stuff, the client stuff, and the personal access tokens. Of course, we are going to see every one of those components in future classes. For now, we just need to know that they exist and we can use it. But how can we use it? Well, for that, we need first to install all the dependencies of our frontend that are being specified in the package.json file, and after that, we just need to compile. So I'm going to remove now this example component because we are not going to use it. And that is going to be a little weird, as we are going to see in a few minutes, but just follow me now. What we need to do here is to install all our dependencies, and for that we are going to use npm. npm is like Composer, but for the frontend, and is using, as I said, the package.json file to know which dependencies to install. Now, if you are on Windows, you need to be very careful and follow my instructions very detailed and step by step. Now, we need to open our command prompt using the Git shell. It is very required to use the Git shell here, but we are not going to start a connection to our virtual machine. We are going to do it directly in our computer, in our machine, not in the virtual machine. So just go to the project, and there we are going to install the dependencies using npm, issuing npm install. It is going to take some time depending on your connection and your computer, but just be patient of this. Please be very careful with this and be sure that you are executing this especially on Windows using your Git shell and directly in your computer, not in the virtual machine. Once the process is done, we can check what it did. So if we go again to the structure of our project, we can see a new folder called Node Modules, and there inside are a lot of folders and files. Every one of them are the dependencies that we need and the dependencies of the dependencies and etc. So believe me, there are very, so believe me, there are a lot of folders and files. So it is very important, if you are using GitHub or something similar, to ignore the content of this folder, because it's basically only used in your development environment. You don't need to run this in your production environment. So if you are using GitHub or something based on Git, you need to be sure that you are ignoring this node modules folder in your gitignore file. That is a very good idea to do it, of course. Now, as you remember, we have several components here, and in fact, all those components are registered here. So we're not going to register this now, but what we are going to do is to compile our resources. It means the JavaScript, the CSS, the fonts, and all related with the frontend using npm again. In fact, if you check the package.json file, you can see all the scripts that you can use with npm. You have dev, watch pull, hot, production, etc. But for now, we are just going to run the dev script to produce the development version of our frontend stuff. So again, inside of your machine, not the virtual machine, you need to run npm run dev, and it is going to try to compile all your assets, but in our case it is going to fail. It is a little difficult to know the exact error here. As you can see, it is not very detailed about that, but basically the problem here is that in the app.js file we are using the example component, but remember that I just removed this few minutes ago. So I'm just going to comment this and to show you that every time that you make a change here, you need to be sure to run the npm run dev again. And this time it is going to work, of course. Now, that can be a little difficult to still running every time the npm run dev stuff here when we do some changes. So we can use npm run watch, and it is going to automatically checking if we made some change in our assets. So if I just go and issue something here, you can see how automatically it builds the assets again. Every time that I change something here, it is compiling and compiling again. So now we understand a little how Laravel Mix works, how to use some components, and of course in the next classes we are going to register that components and use it directly in our project. So see you in the next class.